Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's meeting of Georges River Council. I'll declare the meeting open at 7 p.m. We'll begin with the acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of lands, waters and sky in the Georges River area. I pay my respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. National anthem. If we could please all stand for the national anthem.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and free. With golden soil and wealth of toil, our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's space, let every state of man's Australia bear. Age of our strengths and let us sing Australia fair.
For the opening prayer, which tonight will be led by Pastor Peter Wallace from the Revival Church.
Thank you. Let's pray. Father God, I thank you that your word says that you let me rest in green meadows. He leads me beside peaceful streams. He renews my strength and he guides me along the right path, bringing honour to his name. Father God, I just pray for tonight's proceedings, Lord, that you might bless everybody here, Lord. Give them the spirit of wisdom and revelation, I pray. But Father, I also just pray that you might find the right path through every issue that's discussed. Lord, I just bless the families of every council member here, that they would feel your prosperity, your blessing upon the work that they do. And Lord, we just, I thank you for the work that they do, Lord. And I just thank you for tonight, that they're representing a community that is worth representing. And I just pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Next, we have apologies, and I have an apology from Councillor Pun and Councillor Arthur. Are there any other apologies? I think everyone else is in attendance. Can I please call for a motion to accept apologies and grant a leave of absence? Moved by Councillor Anzalotti and seconded by Councillor Gow. Any discussion? All those in favour say aye. All those against? Declare that carried. Request to attend the meeting via audio-visual link. There were no requests to attend the meeting via audio-visual link. Notice of live streaming of the council meeting. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute-taking purposes and also being webcast live on council's website. This recording will be made available on council's website. The order of business is as shown in the agenda. Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without the express permission of council. Disclosures of interest. We have one disclosure of interest tonight. That is a non-significant non-pecuniary interest from Councillor Allison in relation to NM 03026, poisoning of trees at Boundary Reserve, Peakhurst. And Councillor Allison will remain in the meeting and take part in consideration of this item. We move to confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting, CCL 02926, confirmation of the minutes of the council meeting held on the 28th of April 2026. That's moved by Councillor Marnie and seconded by Councillor Liu. Council, any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that carried. Councillors, tonight I have two mayoral minutes. The first one is MM 00526. That is the expansion of line bikes in Georges River. This was a late agenda item published this afternoon. And the purpose of this Mayoral Minute is that many in our community would have recently noticed the increased presence of Lime bikes or of shared e-bikes across our Georges River area. And I just wanted this Mayoral Minute to provide an update to Council and the community regarding the expansion of these services, as well as the legislative framework that's recently changed. So recently, the New South Wales State Government passed the Road Transport and Other Legislation Amendment for Micro-Mobility Vehicles and Smart Cards Bill 2025. That was in November last year. This legislation enables the state government to approve and regulate which operators, such as Lime, may operate within local government areas, and the approved operators must comply with minimum standards as set at the state level. There are some supporting regulations and guidelines that are still being finalised at present by the state government. Just to note that the framework limits the ability of local councils to refuse entry to approved operators. So that is set at the state government level. So councils are responsible for managing the local impacts of the services. However, we have no authority over whether the operator enters the market or the number of bikes introduced into our LGA. So I wanted to also outline the roles and the powers of local councils. So while we do not control the market entry, we retain the powers to manage how shared e-bikes operate within our local government area, including things like where they may deploy and park e-bikes, establishing dedicated parking zones on public lands and things like that. Another thing to point out is that at present, as I mentioned, the regulatory and funding framework is still being finalised. There has been some early proposals that each e-bike trip will incur an 80 cents fee that's paid by the operator to as a levy, essentially. Some early proposals have proposed that 80% of that would go to the state government and 20 cents of that going through to local government. So this motion is calling for that to be a fair and equitable split of that funding, as local governments will be the ones who will be faced with managing the impacts of the Lime bikes locally in terms of the infrastructure, compliance, and things like that. We are working closely with Lime, who is the operator so far that is operating in Georges River. They commenced operations on the 4th of May. And we will continue to work closely with them. And the Mayoral Minute does outline some things that the operator has already done to manage the impacts. They've advised us that since the introduction on the 4th of May, there's been 7,500 trips in Georges River already. And in terms of complaints and things like that, so far council has only received 10 service requests relating to Lime bikes. And that, as you would probably imagine, it relates to things like the bikes being left on footpaths, pedestrian areas, and creating obstructions. So we will continue working with Lime to work collaboratively with them to get the best outcome for our residents here in Georges River. We're also calling for enforcement to be fit for purpose for these types of devices, because at present the only legislation to manage them is the Public Spaces Unattended Act, which is probably not ideal for these bikes. So we do acknowledge that shared e-bikes present a valuable opportunity, and I do think they have a role to play in Georges River in terms of that last mile trip to get home from train stations and getting cars off the road. So I think there is opportunity, but it's just working with the operator to get the best outcome for Georges River. So my motion is that council notes the update of the expansion of Lime shared e-bike operations, including usage data and community feedback, continues to work collaboratively with Lime to monitor service levels, including parking compliance and operator responsiveness, and improve outcomes for the Georges River community, commences a community awareness campaign outlining the responsibilities of the operator and riders and promoting safe riding and proper parking. And part of that will be council informing the community that if there is issues around where the bikes are left and things like that, the best way to report that is directly to Lime, who will deal with that. Part E, the council advocates for clear, enforceable and contemporary regulations, as well as appropriate and equitable funding arrangements to support the management of micromobility services, and provides a councillor briefing workshop on the expansion and management of shared micromobility services to ensure the best outcomes for the community. Councillors, is there any questions or any discussions? Councillor Marnie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate this Mayoral Minute. I was just wondering, possibly through the Director, to ask who's responsible for the training of these riders, and what about the question of public liability? Thank you.
I'll put that question to the Director of Assets and Infrastructure through the General Manager.
Thank you, and back to the Mayor. So educating the riders, the operator has taken that on as part of the onboarding of them to the service. In terms of public liability, I think I might have to take that one on notice.
Councillor Anzalotti.
Yeah, just a few questions, because we did receive this Mayoral Minute. I know we're allowed to very, very late. We've only really just been given it in the last half an hour, 40 minutes to go through both of these. Just this framework limits the ability of local councils to refuse entry to approved operators. Under what conditions would you refuse the approved operators? So that's the first question. And the other one is, what infrastructure and compliance is needed for the e-bikes to operate at the level of George Rivers Council? So that's just two questions, please.
To the Director again through the General Manager.
Thank you. I'm back through the Mayor. So if we already had several operators within the marketplace, council might choose to run a selective tender in terms of which operator we would prefer, so that we don't have a proliferation of several different operators operating in the one LGA. What was the second question? Sorry.
So what infrastructure and compliance is needed for the e-bikes from Georges River Council at our level? So what infrastructure and compliance are you talking about in this report?
Both relate to where the bikes could be stored, I suppose, because at the moment they can be stored anywhere within the road reserve. So we may choose to reduce the clutter by installing some parking infrastructure, line marking, or areas, paved areas to store the bikes. And compliance also relates to where those bikes are currently being left.
As I understand that the technology can be set that the bike has to be parked in a designated parking area to activate its end of trip. So, you know, it can be a project that the staff do in collaboration with Lime to identify where we think are the best locations for parking. Obviously around the train stations is obvious, and Lime have actually already designated parking bays at the train stations, but further out into the suburbs there's less, they're not designated yet, so they've sort of been left out the front of someone's home on the footpath and things like that. So how we solve that, we don't know yet, but they're the sorts of things that I understand that we can do, and understand that, you know, there is the ability for council to, you know, potentially limit areas within the LGA. It does say that councils have the discretion to limit where the operations exist, so that can be done through geofencing, obviously in collaboration with the operator. Any further discussion, councillors? Councillor Marnie?
Yes, sorry, Madam Mayor, just to sort of go on from Councillor Anzalotti's questions. Given we're in the process of preparing the budget for the next financial year, how are we going to fund part of the bikes, etc., infrastructure through the next budget?
How are we going to fund what was it?
Is there money in the budget to fund this extra infrastructure, or the state government contribute to that?
I'll put the question to the Director again through the General Manager.
Back to the General Manager. There's no budget allocated for next year, but I suppose in terms of any cost recovery opportunities, the legislation and the funding model is still being consulted on and determined by Transport for New South Wales. So I guess there'll be potentially grant opportunities, and we're also not sure what infrastructure and where they might be located yet. So it's a bit too early to allocate a budget.
All right, councillors, if there's no further discussion, I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that carried. The next mayoral minute is MM00626. It's the Emergency Services Funding Reform response to the New South Wales Treasury options paper. So councillors, this motion is to draw your attention to the current funding system for emergency services levy. Some of you may be aware that that is, council makes a contribution to that. It is so that is paying for state government services like fire and rescue, the New South Wales Fire, Rural Fire Service and New South Wales State Emergency Service. And currently those services are funded through a combination of through insurance premiums, about 73%, local councils fund about 11%, and the New South Wales government funds around 14%. So from a council perspective, that equates to around just over $3 million in this current financial year. We have no ability to collect additional revenue to fund to collect that levy and then pay that to the state government to pay for the state government services. So it's literally just absorbed out of our general revenue. So there has been concerns raised in the past that that is another form of cost shifting. So we do support this reforms that they're seeking to do to reform how the emergency services levy is collected. And I will do my best to try to explain that to you. The proposal is, it will be going to a parliamentary select committee. So this motion is for council to make a submission to that parliamentary select committee. The proposal is that there will be a tiered fixed charge levy based on land values applied to property owners. So that would vary based on, I suppose, it's almost be like how your land tax would operate. At this point in time, some of the concerns of council is that council may be left doing the job of going and doing the rating process on every single lot in the LGA to then determine the value. Another concern of councils is that a proposal may be that council is required to collect that levy. It would be listed on our rates charges, so the community thinks it's a fee that applies to a local government rate, when in actual fact it is paying for a state government service. It's got nothing to do with local government at all. We'd literally be the debt collector and passing the money on. So there are a couple of the concerns. Council's position is that Revenue New South Wales should retain the sole responsibility for the administration, billing, collection and debt recovery of any future broad-based property levy. So what this does is would make it transparent about how these services are funded, whereas at the moment it's a little bit hidden. It's hidden in people's insurance premiums, it's hidden in the council rates, and so it isn't really transparent about how those services are funded. I might just refer to our Director of Business and Corporate Services to see if she has anything to add in addition to how I've explained it. Anything you think I've left out?
Through the Mayor, no, you covered it well. I think it's just important that there is the two aspects that we're looking at. One, it's the collection aspect to get clarity as to the position of the state government as to who is going to be the collection agent, and that our preference is Revenue New South Wales is what the motion's calling for, or greater clarity. We've also got the motion that calls awareness for the community, because there are 5 options being presented. The report doesn't go into it, as it is probably more a personal matter for individual households to consider, but it draws the attention as metro communities are likely to have a potentially higher rates, given it's based on land values. So it is potentially redistributing the burden across New South Wales. So community members may be interested and want to have a say. So I think it's important, but it is quite a comprehensive, lengthy reform.
Thank you. And so I'll just read the motion. The motion is that council promote community awareness of the Parliamentary Select Committee inquiry by sharing relevant information and submission links through council's communication channels, including social media, to encourage residents and businesses to understand the proposed reforms and participate in the consultation process. Part B, the council submit a formal response to the Parliamentary Select Committee inquiry prior to the 19th of June 2026 deadline and provide a copy to the local members representing the local government area, which one, supports reform for the emergency services levy to ensure the funding model is fairer, more transparent and more equitable across the community. Two, supports Revenue New South Wales assuming sole responsibility for the administration, billing, collection and debt management of any new broad-based property levy. And three, opposes any funding model that requires local councils to act as the primary collection agency through the inclusion of the levy on council rate notices, particularly where such arrangements would impose additional administrative costs, resource burdens and cost shifting pressures on local government. That is the motion. Councillors, is there any discussion? Anyone would like to ask questions or speak to the motion? Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a bit unclear with both Meryl Minnis, I suppose. We've got these line blocks dumped on us now, just before we start drafting the next budget. And we've also got added to that is the possible impost of us acting as collection agency for the for this levy. So how are councillors supposed to be informed about the impact of the line bikes and also this possible imposition of the collection of the ESL? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll put the question to the Director of Business and Corporate Services through the General Manager.
Through the Mayor. So the budget as it stands is based on information known at this point. We don't assume changes unless it's highly certain. So at this stage, the draft budget includes the assumed payment of an emergency service levy around 3.1 million with probably CPI added. At this stage, there is no assumption of taking on any additional service such as collection of the ESL. And I believe the Director Assets commented on the line bike matter.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillors, any other discussion? If not, I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that carried. Next item we have is condolences. We have a condolence tonight from Councillor Anzalotti.
Yeah, thank you. Georges River Council expresses its deep sorrow at the passing of Neil Danaher, a remarkable Australian whose courage, dignity and determination inspired millions. Neil's tireless advocacy for people living with motor neurone disease transported awareness of the illness across the nation and raised vital funds for research and support services through his leadership of Fight MND. In recognition of his extraordinary contribution to the Australian community, Neil was named Australian of the Year in 2025, a fitting tribute to a man whose courage and selflessness united the nation. MND remains one of the most devastating and cruel diseases affecting Australian families. There is currently no cure, there's no cause, and there's really no treatment around any options. Around 2,800 Australians are currently living with MND, with 2 Australians diagnosed every day and another 2 losing their lives to the disease each day. The average life expectancy following diagnosis is just 27 months on average. It can be as little as 14 months. Based on national prevalence rates, it's estimated that around 15 to 20 people and families within the Georges River community may currently be living with this cruel disease, facing unimaginable physical, emotional and financial challenges. This motion of condolence is deeply personal for me, as my own father passed away from MND back in 2020. And like so many families, we witnessed firsthand the heartbreaking impact this disease has not only on the person diagnosed, but on their loved ones and carers as well. We watched a strong man and capable man gradually lose his ability to walk, speak and eventually breathe. That is why Neil Danaher's courage, advocacy and determination meant so much to families like mine across Australia. Despite his own diagnosis, Neil continued to show extraordinary strength, humility and optimism, becoming a symbol of resilience and hope for countless Australian families affected with MND. On behalf of Georges River Council, I'd like to extend our sincere condolences to Neil's wife Jan, his children, extended family, friends, former teammates and all those who were touched by his life and advocacy. May his legacy continue to inspire compassion, generosity and the pursuit of a cure for motor neurone disease one day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Anzalotti. Any other councillors, any other condolences? If not, if we could please stand for a moment's silence. Thank you. Please be seated. We move to committee reports. The first tonight being CCL 03026, report of the Assets and Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 11th of May 2026. Councillor Mort.
I move the recommendations of the Assets and Infrastructure meeting held on the 11th of May, as in the report.
Thank you, and that's been seconded by Councillor Liu. Councillors, any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that carried. Next, we have CCL 03126. That is the report of the Finance and Governance Committee meeting held on the 11th of May 2026. Councillor Jamieson.
I move the recommendations of the committee. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Jamieson, and that is seconded by Councillor Liu. Councillors, any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that carried. Next, we move to CCL 03226, report of the Community and Culture Committee meeting held on the 11th of May 2026. Councillor Lansbury.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'll move that the Community and Culture Committee recommendations for items COM 018-26 to COM 019-26 as detailed in the business paper be adopted by Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Demosky. Councillors, any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that carried. Next, we have CCL 03326. That is the report of the Environment and Planning Committee meeting held on the 11th of May 2026. Councillor Marnie.
I'd like to move that budget recommendations ENV 01826 and ENV 01926 be adopted by Council. Thank you.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Lansbury. Councillors, any discussion? If not, I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare that carried. We move to Finance and Governance items, CCL 03426, applications pursuant to Councillor Ward Discretionary Fund Policy for May 2026. Councillor Jamieson.
I move the recommendation of the staff.
Thank you. That's been seconded by Councillor Marnie. Councillors, any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare it carried. Next, we have CCL 03526. That is FIN 02126, the quarterly budget review report for the period ending 31st of March 2026. This was deferred from the Finance and Governance Committee held on the 11th of May. Councillor Jamieson.
I move the recommendation of the staff, but would like to ask questions as well.
Sure, I'll call for a seconder. Councillor Liu has seconded that. Councillor Jamieson, if you'd like to ask a question.
Yeah, and I think, and I touched this in the Finance and Governance Committee, if it's okay, since as a council we don't have any briefings, if you wouldn't mind, if the director wouldn't mind just giving us an overview, please.
Thank you, Councillor Jamieson. We'll put that to the Director of Business and Corporate Services through the General Manager.
Through the mayor, sorry. So the Q3 budget is out at the same time. So this is the monitoring how we are performing against the 25-26 budget, but it also can sometimes be confusing as the draft 26-27 budget is currently on exhibition. which does close on the 27th of May. So I'd encourage people to have a look at that. So the quarterly budget review is tracking how we're performing and provides the results to council as to any budget change and also any commentary of any concern that we may have. Overall, both budgets, the one on draft and the quarterly, is still tracking within the $2 to $3 million operating surplus target that we aim to achieve. Within the report, there's detailed tables, so table 3 and detailed table 5, which provides movements on the operating results and movements in the capital. So I'd recommend that that's reviewed, but overall the position remains stable and our prudent and responsible financial management continues to keep us on track with our budget goals.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Councillors, any discussion? Another question?
Yes, I do have some more questions noting the changes in the budget for a couple of projects. The Penshurst retaining wall is one, and also the Penshurst Park fencing as well.
Put that to the Director of Assets and Infrastructure, please, through the General Manager.
Thank you, and through the Mayor. In relation to the Penshurst retaining wall project, the team completed the design of that in December, and councillors approved the budget variation in February. So that one is currently in the procurement phase in the market at the moment, and we expect to have a contractor onboarded shortly. But the works probably won't start till July now. So the budget's been pushed to match the construction schedule. In relation to the operable fence, that had the planning approval in December of last year. That has been in the procurement stage. It's been for one round of procurement and we didn't receive any submissions for that particular tender, but we are confident that we have a panel identified which we can issue the tender to, but similarly the works won't start until July, so the budget is pushed to match the construction schedule.
Thank you. Councillors, any further discussion? If not, I will put the motion. It's been moved by Councillor Jamieson, second by Councillor Liu. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare it carried. We move to notices of motion, the first being NM 02726, Sporting Recognition Framework. Councillor Dmowski. Seconded by Councillor Malt.
Madam Mayor, fellow councillors, I would like to move the following motion. That is, that council acknowledges that many local athletes, coaches, officials and volunteers have achieved excellence and made significant contributions to sport at local, regional, state, national and international levels. Number 2, recognize the important role that sporting achievement plays in fostering community pride, inspiring participation in sport and physical activity, and contributing to the social and cultural life of the Georges River community. B, that the General Manager prepares a report to Council outlining options for a structured sporting recognition framework for the Georges River community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dmowski. Would you like to speak to that motion? Oh no, sorry, Councillor Dmowski first. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, basically the motion says what I wanted to say. Basically, a recognition to all of our wonderful athletes, coaches, volunteers, that they've spent a lot of times on the sporting fields, coaching kids, and essentially producing sporting athletes that actually represent our local government area into the on a state, national and international level. So our recognition for all of those people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Councillor Moore, do you wish to speak?
I think this is a great initiative, recognising invaluable contributions of our local athletes, coaches, officials and volunteers. It certainly underscores the significance of sporting achievements in fostering community and pride. It is essential to acknowledge the outstanding accomplishments of individuals within our community who have excelled in their respective sports. Their achievements not only bring recognition to Georges River area, but also serve as an inspiration for future generations to engage in sports and physical activities. Celebrating these successes will enhance community morale and encourage broader participation in sporting events. This proposal is for a structured sporting recognition framework, is timely and necessary by establishing a clear and organised approach to honour our local sporting heroes. We can ensure that their contributions are recognised in a meaningful way, while contributing to our rich history in the Georges River area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any councillors wishing to speak against the motion? If not, I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? I declare it carried. Next, we have NM 02826, Pecos West Public School Swimming Pool. Councillor Liu. It's been seconded by Councillor Mort. Councillor, sorry, Councillor Anzalotti, would you mind just turning your microphone off so Councillor Liu can speak to the motion?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, yeah, we can recall last Monday night, 2 community members came in to speak on it. So, based on the original motion, I did a little bit of amendment. I think it's all been shown on the screen. If I'm going to read out, it should be like the first one, acknowledge that access to affordable and pre-placed community sporting facilities is essential to community well-being. B, note that the transfer of the pool to a private operator and a commercialized mode of operation has raised the concerns amongst community groups of increased fees and reduced access for community users, including local swimming clubs. And the second, proposed changes, including a reduction in 25 meters pool depth from 2.2 meters to 1.4 meters, represent a downgrade of the facility, and impact is suitability for training, community programs, and typical competition use. And then this matter has been raised with council since December 2024, including a 2025 resolution regarding the reopening of the facility NM 091-25, and key concerns relating to affordability, access, and proposed changes remain unresolved. And C, write to the New South Wales state government and the relevant authorities to, the first, seek clarification regarding the proposed changes to the pool, including the reduction in pool depth and its impact on community users. And this one I add on, that requests that the proposed works be paused pending further consultation and clarification, noting that once this project commence, the original functionality of the pool may be permanently affected. And the next one, express councils and the community's concerns regarding affordability, access, and the proposed changes to the facility. And the last one will be seek a review to ensure that the facility remains accessible, appropriate, and fit for long-term community use. So this one, yeah, it's not a new, since it's closed back to before the Christmas 2024. And during that time till now, it's been reopening once, but now it's been closed. I know the community groups of representatives, they met in Parliament to be met by the, I think, the Minister for Education Department, right? Yeah, Minister for Education. They've been told after the meeting, I've got a letter I've been given from one of the pool users. It says that's on the 9th of May, 2026. And it's from the the Honourable Brooke Carr, Deputy Premier and the Minister for Education and Early Learning, Minister for Western Sydney, in black and white, saying, we are working through a seriously important issues raised by the community to ensure that the pool is upgraded, fit for purpose and meet their needs. According to the document from the Department of Education in April's newsletter to all the pool users, saying the first one they are going to, they name the project is upgraded. If the 25 meters pool, they will decrease from 2 meters to 1.4. I don't think it's upgraded. I think it's degraded. It will seriously impact the usage of this pool because this pool, back to the history, it was designed by the community. It was supported by the community. It's a competition standard pool. 2 meters, that's a very standard, a national standard. I don't know why it's going to be changed to 1.4. So that's why I'm saying it is an urgent call for council, right to the authority, state government authority, to that this work, the project been paused because I was at the on site last Thursday night after the school time. I can see the students, being dismissed from the school. I was out the site. I can see the site was completely closed, and the infant pool, the water has been dried out already. Seems like they are going to be the project. So that's why we have a urgent request from the promise from the government. They are going to listen to the community, pause it after the community consultation, all the clarification of all the concerns being solved before the project being commenced. So that's why I'm here to move the motion. I hope my fellow councillor will support it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Luke. Councillor Moore, just as the seconder, just wanted to check that you're happy with the changes that were proposed when Councillor Liu moved.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Anzalotti.
Yeah, I'd like to move an amendment, please.
I might just seek Councillor Moore as a seconder of the original motion. Would you like to speak to it, and then we'll come to the amendment second, if that's okay?
So I support this motion because access to affordable and appropriate sporting facilities, and it's not a luxury. It is essential for health and well-being for our community. And for many local family schools and seniors swim clubs, of which, well, I can name 6 here: St George Water Dragons, Masters Swimming Club, Penshurst RSL Swimming Club, Peakhurst Amateur Swimming Club, Padstow RSL Swimming Club, the Peakhurst West Amateur Swimming Clubs, which are all users of this pool, has been more than it's been more than just a pool. It's been a place for learning vital safety skills, exercise, rehabilitation, recreation, and community connection. While the upgrades and improvements are always welcome, the concerns being raised by the community around affordability, reduced access, and proposed reduction in the pool depth deserves to be heard and properly considered. The depth of the pool is not simply a design feature. It directly affects how the facility can be used. Adequate depth is essential for proper learn to swim progression, squad training, and future competition pathways. It allows swimmers to safely develop confidence, diving skills, and advanced techniques as they progress through different levels of training. Reducing the depth may limit opportunities for local swimming clubs and young athletes who aspire to compete at higher levels in the future. A downgrade in functionality could have long-term impacts on training, competition use, and community programs that many residents rely on. Equally concerning are the reports of increased fees, which may place participation out of reach for some families at this time. Cost of living pressures are already significant. So this motion is reasonable, balanced, and community focused. It simply asks for transparency, consultation, and a review to ensure this important facility remains accessible and fit for purpose for the people it serves. And I commend Councillor Liu for bringing this matter forward as I support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Anzalone, you have an amendment.
This amendment is actually the solution to this problem. So I'm proposing D. Note that local government authorities are traditionally and practically the most appropriate bodies to manage public community infrastructure, and therefore write to New South Wales State Government to formally propose that Georges River Council assume full care and management of the facility to return it to a local government run model.
It's been moved by Councillor Anzalotti, and if I can call for a second by Councillor Hayes. Councillor Liu, do you accept that amendment? No? Okay. Councillor Anzalotti, if you'd like to speak to the amendment.
Yeah, so I rise tonight to speak to this amendment, but more importantly, to inject some desperate needed truth about this matter, the history and logic into the debate that has been deliberately weaponised to divide our community. Let us start with the facts, because our community deserves them. There is a narrative being pushed by certain councillors and the member for Oatley that this operator-led model for Peacock's West Swimming Pool is a brand new malicious attempt to strip away a public asset. This is an outright lie. As documented clearly in our own council reports and government documents, Peacock's West Swimming Pool has been run by a commercial operator since 2018 under Mark Pouret's government. The former New South Wales Liberal government, until that provider withdrew due to the pandemic. It's not a new development. In fact, it was a previous state government that introduced this framework, and let us look closely at the record of the member for Oatley, Mark Pouret. I have a copy of one of his own newsletters from the 7th of December 2017. All right, so I'm going to call him out on his historical amnesia. Back then, following a public meeting on December the 6th, Mark Pouret stood right there at the pool and explicitly stated on record, "I've written to the Department of Education with my priority of Peacock's West Swimming Pool remaining under the operation of the cooperative and in community hands." He talked about how the pool had a proud history. Yes, it does. How the local community and the P&C raised funds to build it. Yes, they did. And how he was fighting for an immediate upgrade. But what actually happened? Nothing. He failed. He completely failed to deliver that upgrade. And despite his public promise to keep it under a local cooperative, his own government turned around just months later in 2018 and handed that very pool over to a private commercial operator. It wasn't until April 2025 that the New South Wales Labor Minns government actually stepped up and announced a massive $1.2 million investment for major upgrade to replace the roof, deep clean the pool. Prior to this, no investment had been made into the facility since 1990. Yet some people in this chamber have chosen to ignore the history, opting instead to run a cynical fear campaign. The local member and certain councillors have used social media, local radio, newspapers, and even Parliament to accuse the government of privatising the pool. They are using this to scare residents, to divide our community, and for political point scoring, rather than actually working to solve the problem. In reality, the original motion before us tonight is an absolute waste of our council officer's valuable time and resources. Okay? No, it is. It's a blatant waste of ratepayers' money. It asks staff to compile redundant reports on matters that are already being actively resolved by Minister Carr. When FitXP took over, user groups raised very real concerns. They're valid concerns regarding the pool depth, fee increases and booking times and privatisation of the pool, because a privatisation has been spun out there in the community and it's not true. On the 7th of May, I met directly with our community groups and the Deputy Premier, Minister for Education, Prue Carr, and our federal member at Parliament House to talk through the exact issues they had. We listened closely to their feedback and reassured them that every single one of these concerns would be carefully considered and addressed with School Infrastructure Department. The Deputy Premier has been entirely clear, stating on record to the leader that night that Peacock's West Pool has never been privatised and will never be under this current government. I cannot understand why anyone would want to scare the wonderful volunteers and community groups who use this pool. So let us call out another piece of misinformation here and now, and that's been claims locally that FitXP is solely funding this upgrade. It's completely incorrect. The heavy lifting is being done by state funding. If councillors here tonight and the member for Oatley would generally fair income about community, they would know that it's local councils that run pools and not schools. If they were truly concerned, they have never previously asked this council to take over the care of the pool. If the goal was always to protect an asset, a motion to have council assume the care and control should have been brought forward years ago. Instead, it was held back to be used as a political football. Let's look at the track record. Georges River Council already successfully run Hurst, Sans Souci, and soon to be Cars Park Pool. We have local expertise, resources, and the community always at heart. The height of this political theatre was on display just a day after the Parliament House meeting, when a photo was published featuring Councillor Liu and Curray on the steps of Parliament House, deceitfully inferring that they had been the ones meeting and leading the community consult with the pool groups. They were not in that meeting. They did not listen to the concerns. It was Prue Carr who listened intently to those conversations. Tonight's about setting the record straight. While some choose to stand on the steps and stroke anxiety, we are choosing a structural solution to keep Peakhurst West Pool in community hands and as a genuine community asset.
Councillor Anzalotti.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hayes, as a seconder to the amendment, do you wish to speak to the amendment?
Yes. Madam Mayor, I support Councillor Anzalotti's amendment. As we all know, council-run swimming pools are often the best choice for a community because they're publicly owned. Community-focused facilities that prioritise safety, accessibility and long-term social benefit over profit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes. Does any councillor wish to speak against the amendment? Councillor Lansbury.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I admire the sentiment of wanting to bring it back in-house and for council to run it, but Councillor Anzalotti would point out the pools that we do have in the LGA are operated by organised organisations like Bluefit. We don't run pools ourselves as much as that's my preferred model. I can't support this. As I said, I love the sentiment of it, but I think you might need to dial it down a little bit by making accusations about councillors in this chamber spreading misinformation and all the rest of it. I haven't actually heard that. I have heard the member for Oatley jumping onto this issue because it's in his seat, I guess. I'm not overly familiar with this particular pool, but it seems to me that the change of operator has gone from one private operator to a new one, and perhaps Councillor Liu, you might consider including in a small amendment of including new private a new operator, whatever it is in the first part, just to make that more clear. It hasn't gone from council. It's not a council asset. So why would council be operating it? The pools that council has responsibility for currently, we've got Sans Souci and Hurst Aquatic Centre. They're council assets. This is a Department of Education asset. So it's kind of up to them to manage it. It strikes me as really odd that they would be reducing the depth of the pool. That's not included in your amendment, so I won't really speak to that so much now. I would only think, as Councillor Liu indicated, that would decrease the efficacy of the pool and impact on learning to swim and diving and all the rest of it, and impact on the community groups that actually currently use it. I can't support this, although I love the sentiment of it. I'd love to have council operate all of our pools. I would love to see that happen with Cars Park Pool when it's built, but it's the wrong time for us to be doing it because council would have to do exactly the same thing and engage a private operator to operate it, because we don't have, and no disrespect intended, we don't have the in-house expertise to operate pools. That's one of the reasons why we have external operators like Bluefit operating Sans Souci and the Aquatic Centre. So it doesn't actually make sense, I'm sorry, for a Department of Education asset, which is the state, you know, equals the state government. It's their call. The purpose of Councillor Liu's motion tonight is to lobby on behalf of the community groups that use it so that they still will have access. Decreasing the depth of the pool, I think, is part of it, obviously, as well, doesn't quite make sense. And I think the purpose of this motion is advocating on behalf of the community groups that currently use it. It wouldn't be appropriate for council to suddenly put up their hand and say, yeah, we'll operate it, because, you know, I think we'd watch our director of assets probably have conniptions if we suddenly said you've got to start operating the pool in 6 weeks' time. We don't have the in-house expertise. As much as I'd love it, it could be something we consider down the track next time the tender comes up or whatever. But again, it's not a council asset, so it's entirely inappropriate to be advocating for council to be running it. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Lansbury. Any other councillors wishing to speak against the amendment? Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, this book is it's a pretty typical and special one. When you look at this booklet, I think John Thomas, who was one of the speakers last Monday night, showed this one, and this one I even given to each councillor back to the last the motion in 2025. So the pool users and community groups are saying to me, Nancy, this one is been written by the community up to the year 1921. If the functionality be changed, it can't be reversed, and the history will be written by the community. Doing another booklet to tell you the truth. So who did the wrong thing, who did the right thing? That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. We've had 2 speakers for the amendment and 2 against. So I will now put the amendment to a vote. If we could please go around the room to take the vote on the amendment.
Your vote, please, Madam Mayor.
I'm against.
Councillor Allison.
Against.
Councillor Anzalotti.
For.
Councillor Demoski.
Against.
Councillor Gow.
For.
Councillor Hayes.
For.
Councillor Jamison.
Against.
Councillor Lansbury.
Against.
Councillor Liu.
Against.
Councillor Marnie.
Against.
Councillor Mort.
Against.
Councillor Stratokopoulos.
Against.
Councillor Wang.
For.
That's 9 votes against the amendment and 4 votes for.
I declare the amendment lost, and we revert back to the original motion put by Councillor Liu and seconded by Councillor Mort. Councillor Lansbury, did you want to suggest a minor amendment that you mentioned before?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just in looking at part I, the transfer of the pool to a new private operator.
BI or CI? Because I think
Oh,
there's
sorry,
two. So
BI.
BI.
Yeah.
So note that the transfer of the pool to you want to say a new private operator. Councillor Liu, you happy to add that in? And Councillor Mort is the seconder.
Yes, happy to have that in. Add that in.
So the staff got that. So under B, the transfer of the pool to a new private operator. Yeah. Yeah, that's where it is. Okay. Councillors, any further discussion on the motion? If not, I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. All those against? Yes. Might take a division.
Madam Mayor, your vote, please.
For.
Councillor Allison.
For.
Anzalotti.
Against.
Councillor Demoski.
For.
Councillor Gow.
Against.
Councillor Hayes.
Against.
Councillor Jamison.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
Councillor Liu.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Mort.
For.
Councillor Stratokopoulos.
For.
Councillor Wang.
Against.
It's 9 votes for and 4 votes against.
I declare the motion carried. We move to MM 02926, that is the Beverly Hills Master Plan. Councillor Wang.
Can I have a second, please? Yeah. Thank
Seconded
you.
by Councillor Gow.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, so this motion is actually quite straightforward. It's a bit broad core, but it does provide a win-win-win situation. So it's a win for the council and a win for the state government, and above all, it's a win for the community. So before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge and thank 3 doctors who addressed this community meeting last week in support of the motion. And we are fortunate to have the highly respected professionals willing to contribute their wisdom, their time, and their genuine concern for the future of Beverly Hills. Their advocacy
reflects the growing community desire to see real progress rather than more years of planning uncertainty. Some of the community members are here today in the gallery. Thank you for that. So make no mistake, Beverly Hills is visibly deteriorating. Our amenity is severely impaired. Our role as a nighttime hub is over, and community frustration has reached a fever pitch. As the northern gateway to Georges River, our town center has become an eyesore. And to show to the whole state, this council has lost its way. The residents' message is clear. Stop the delay and let us make progress. Proceeding with the council-led master plan will only alienate a community that is already going directly to the state government. The community wants action, investment, and renewal. Increasingly, residents believe that the outcome is more likely to be reached if the state government takes the lead, with council supporting rather than duplicating the planning process. For the community, this motion offers the prospect of finally achieving the holistic, trans-oriented revitalization that Beverly Hills has awaited for too long. For the state government, it provides a clear pathway to deliver housing and infrastructure objectives without unnecessary duplication or delay. For council, it offers the opportunity to step away from a project that has become clearly costly, contentious, and politically and economically liability. The reality is that much of the Beverly Hills has commercial centers is already subject to state-led planning proposal. So we have the state significant development proposal for the former cinema, and we have the 1.6 hectares state assessed rezoning proposal at the 417 to 511 King George Road. The state government is already playing the leading role in assessing future housing growth and the long-term economic development of the precinct. Can we have that? Oh, yes, okay. So the director's comments recommend rejecting this motion on the basis that there's no active state-led precinct planning framework, that the rezoning proposal has not progressed. So the facts suggest otherwise. The department in July 2025 confirmed the rezoning proposal at 407 to 511 King George Road remains under active assessment through the state assessed rezoning pathway. The cinema site has been put on hold just because it's a part of the 407 to 511 King George Road. So if we look at the screen, especially for those who are not familiar with Beverly Hills, so this picture shows the scale of the master plan, and the one in brown is the state, is the area state already take over. So that's the center of the business area. I would say account for 80% of the business already, and it's as long as 412 meters. It's massive. It accounts for the crucial part of the Beverly Hills economy. Yeah. So, and in addition to that, we're talking about some like over 400 million investment, sorely missed in the Beverly Hills economy, and deliver hundreds, thousands of jobs. Some of them are permanent. So I just cut a little bit short. I sent the letter to the councillors. I would say if we go back with this councillors' plan, the chances are it will cause a further delay because it has lots of contradiction elements.
Thank you,
from the state.
Councillor Wang.
Okay.
If you conclude your comments, please.
Okay, in conclusion, so this is a real alternative to save money and give a real perspective for the revitalization of Beverly Hills.
Thank you, Councillor Wang. Councillor Gao is the second if you wish to speak to the motion. Any councillors wishing to speak against the motion?
I have questions, Madam
Yes, some
Mayor, if
questions.
that's okay.
Councillor Dmowski, yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Wang. Um, Look, before I begin, I would like to state for the record that I strongly support the progress, revitalization and development of Beverly Hills, as well as every other suburb within our LGA. Now, on the weekend, I had the pleasure of meeting up with some lovely people, residents of Beverly Hills. And also, in the meantime, I spoke to Councillor Wang regarding the Beverly Hills development area. I was astounded to hear from them all some facts, and I wanted to ask and clarify for the record for all of us here and everyone in our LGA. I have 4 questions, and I would like the relevant directors to answer the questions. I'll be asking them one by one, and I just want to clear and clarify some facts. Question number 1: Can the relevant director please provide the exact month when the Beverly Hills master plan is expected to be completed and made available for public exhibition?
Thank you, Councillor Dmowski. I'll put that question to the Director of Environment and Planning.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm not able to give you an exact month as to when it's on exhibition. Consultants are bringing the documentation together as we speak. So that's in the answer it's provided in the coming months. So, thank you.
So that was in the, there's no exact date, it's just in the coming months, yeah?
That's the
Okay,
answer.
thank you, Director Hill. Question number 2. Are there any other examples where the state government has taken over the preparation of a master plan for local centres within another LGA, similar to what has been proposed for Beverly Hills?
Thank you. I'll put that question also to the Director of Environment and Planning, Mr. Hill.
Through Madam Mayor. I don't have comprehensive knowledge, but in terms of the way that Department of Planning have approached taking over the planning of some parts of New South Wales in recent years, I don't think they've gone to the lower levels of the lower scale of Beverly Hills. They've generally been more specialised, so metro area like in Macquarie Park or a hospital medical precinct in St Leonards. They're very different propositions to Beverly Hills.
Thank you, Director Hill. Question number 3. Now, this one, and correct me if I'm wrong, I am concerned about information raised by residents and also by Councillor Wang regarding the Moomba to Sydney pipeline. It has been suggested that the pipeline does not physically exist and it is not active. Can the council please confirm for the public record, does the pipeline physically exist? Is it currently active? And does it pass through Beverly Hills?
Through Madam Mayor, I think staff reported on the pipeline since my time here, so I'm going to suggest that it is present and it's in the process of changing uses. So, yeah. What was the third part of the question, Councillor?
So
Right.
Does it pass or run through Beverly Hills?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Question number 4. I'm breaking some myths, and I want to know the facts about the situation in Beverly Hills. You would appreciate this is me coming onto board. Now, there is a concern within parts of the community regarding the recent removal of the palm tree from Beverly Hills. It has been alleged that the palm tree was removed and sold to Bayside Council for a profit. For the public record, can council please confirm, was the palm tree sold to Bayside Council? Also, if so, can the director or the relevant person responsible, what amount was received from the sale?
I'm
Thank
going to
you.
put that question to the Director of Assets and Infrastructure through the General Manager.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I can confirm that the palm trees were cut down and removed and not sold.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all I have
That's your
tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Jamovsky. So we've had Councillor Wang has spoken for it. Councillor Gales reserved his right as the seconder. Does anybody wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Lansbury.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I do wish to speak against this for a number of reasons. Firstly, I'm also concerned with the amount of time this has taken, and just as a little bit of background for perhaps some of the newer councillors, we have been dealing with this since 2020, and we dealt with it during COVID. I think it went out on exhibition and we're very uncomfortable. There's only a few of us on the Environment and Planning Committee because that's a hard one, and not very many people were there. There's like 4 of us, and we all independently decided that we're very concerned with it. And in July 21, we referred it to workshops because we had concerns about the scale. We were getting a lot of pressure to approve the master plan because we'd been given grant funding to get it done, and we might lose it and have to pay it back, etc. But the risk studies had not yet been done on the gas pipe or methane pipe, I think it was, in those days yet, which we were really concerned about it, and we wouldn't do it. And then it was referred to workshops, and I think coming back to council and Councillor Wang, you were on the Environment and Planning Committee in, I think, 23, because there was a resolution that council not proceed with the exhibited master plan for the Beverly Hills Local Centre, which I moved and you seconded. You probably remember that. They kind of went back to the drawing board. We also dealt with a range of compulsory acquisitions that would affect the residents if they were going to create, I think it was an 8th Street, which ran parallel behind King George's Road. There was just a lot about it, the scale, the compulsory acquisitions, the fact that the risk assessments hadn't been done on the Moomba pipeline, which meant that we just were not happy with proceeding with what we had, despite the fact that we had pressure. And getting back to what your motion calls for us to do is to hand over control of the Beverly Hills Master Plan and planning to the state government, which I would say be careful what you wish for. We could end up with something like Walleye Creek down King George's Road. And you may laugh, but it's a very real risk because we're elected by our residents to represent their interests, and I'm not quite sure abrogating our responsibilities as councillors by saying, look, this is just too hard, and also that would also signal that we don't have faith within our own council staff. And I know there's always this concern about consultants and things like that, but again, council does not have the in-house expertise or the manpower to create these things, and when they do, sometimes they don't go well. So that's why these things are generally outsourced to consultants. We as councillors can reject some of the things that they come back with, which we did in relation to the compulsory acquisitions, but I would have very grave concerns with saying, okay, state government, please take control of this. As our director said, we're getting it in the next, hopefully, a couple of months. We like to hope that. It has taken too long. Of course it has, but that's because this council resolved on a number of occasions not to accept what was before us. And Councillor Wang, you were a part of that too. I understand that there are people in the gallery tonight that want to see this progress. We all do, but we don't want to do that. We want to get it right. We want to make sure that we get it right for Beverly Hills. It is very long overdue. We spent quite a bit of time, as people will recall, on the Mortdale Master Plan, and these things do move at a glacial pace. It's just an unfortunate thing that happens, but I can tell you what, it would move at a very rapid pace. And if we hand it over to the state government, who are looking for all sorts of places to increase the density, what if we ended up with 20 stories all the way down King George's Road? Do we think that the residents would really like that? I don't think they would. And that's the sort of thing that we would be throwing caution to the wind and saying, okay, we had the HDA, I'll wind up in a sec, the HDA approve in principle the 20-story proposal at Mortdale ourselves. Do we want that replicated all the way down King George's Road? Of course we don't. We need to act in the best interests of our residents by maintaining oversight of this as a council. We have a lot of the studies that there were delays that were external factors, like, we didn't do the risk assessment of the Mamba pipeline in the first iteration in 2020. That had to be done. Then the flood risk study was, imposed upon council by the state government, and because of different things, Lismore was one of the issues that brought that to a head as well. And it's not riverine flooding, that's overland flooding of too much built up urban area, and it's a very real problem. So they needed to assess that. Yeah, sorry.
Conclude
So
things.
I'll finish on that by just sort of saying I cannot support handing over our responsibility to the state government. This is something we need to do as a council.
Thank you. Before I go to Councillor Marnie, I'd just like to add to that as well, that the delays, this master plan would have been put out on public exhibition had it not been for the change of use that was approved on the gas pipeline, which has necessitated this council on doing a new hazard analysis to assess the new risk of carrying natural gas instead of ethane gas. And we know, because we've received the results of that hazard analysis, that that is going to be favourable for the landowners in Beverly Hills who seek to have upzoning of their land, because there will be no restrictions on residential density in the vicinity of that pipeline. So that is another reason why the master plan is not yet out on exhibition, and it would have otherwise been out on exhibition. Councillor Marnie, do you wish to speak against this motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry. Okay, with all due respect, I don't quite understand where Councillor Wang is coming from with this notice of motion. When Councillor Wang was elected with me in 2021, we found that we had many things in common, such as a passion for the community and the environment, and we were proud to achieve many common outcomes together. Since I joined council, I've been impressed by the high standard of the work which has been constantly delivered by our environment and planning staff. For example, the current and former directors and managers of strategic planning, who have listened intently to the concerns of us councillors and drafted many impressive strategies. Councillor Wang and I shared the same views on sensible development, and until recently, now Councillor Wang has publicly criticised me for my strong stance in defence of the forest protection area, and is now ignoring the proven risk to human life posed by the gas pipeline and flooding in Beverly Hills. Councillor Wang and I, and indeed all councillors, have both had the benefit of the same expert advice provided by the Environment and Planning Committee, Environment and Planning Directorate. Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to ask Councillor Wang a couple of questions.
Sure, you can ask them. He's not obliged to answer them, but you can ask them.
Thank you. Councillor Wang, can you please identify the source of this information that you're providing now?
Source of the information.
Councillor Lu, if you could just turn it on. Thank you.
So the source of the information of which one? It's all most of from the council's public master plans document and the planning proposal. And what's the planning proposal? They have this values 4.1 to 5.47 to 5.11. It's all from there. They're very comprehensive application document, and the numbers, the jobs created, and so that's the source of information, public already.
I think the director's comments provides clarity on the facts around those planning proposals, so perhaps the information you included in the motion was maybe not the most up to date. Councillor Marnie, do you have another question?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. To Councillor Wang again, I noticed the email you sent us today about this notice of motion and the notice of motion itself, which differs quite markedly from the advice that we've had internally as councillors, and also information that's been provided to the public through different notices of motion and advice we've had on the planning proposal for the last few years. So, Councillor Wang, do you really believe that the advice you refer to is superior to that compiled by council professional staff? And if so, why?
Can you be more specific? Which point? Because I sent you my speech as well. Which point? So I can elaborate. Yeah. Which point?
Well, just referring to the director's comments, the motion isn't consistent with the information that's already been put in the public domain.
So yes, I intend to address the comments one by one, but I was running out of time. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Yeah. So about the first, the most important one is saying the planning proposal is not active, so which is not true. So the state government has made it very clear in last year is active on the assessment, and I also even heard some of news, but that's informal. It's progressing very well. And the second one is about the cinema side, and there's some comments that one was cancelled, which is not true. In the state official statement, is put on hold because if you look at that picture, the cinema is a part of that big planning proposal. So that there's two planning proposal mentioned. One is a part of the other. So the direct comments, it's not totally wrong, but it does not defeat my point of saying it's active. The state is active assessing. That does it answer the question? So the other one is the other one is about the funding. Yeah. So for the past 10 years, it's just different opinion. I'm not attacking the staff. The staff is saying we have invested massive in this master plan already. If we stop, it's a money waste. So my argument is why do we still give money after the fact? And for the past 10 years, probably we spent, if not 1 million, at least $500,000 in the master plan. Just estimate, we can get the official numbers later. So I don't agree because we invest massively and didn't deliver any tangible outcome for the community, we should keep doing that. We have at one point have to ask the question, when do we stop repeating? Because you can see the words are on the wall. If we
Thank you, Councillor Wang. I think you've answered Councillor Mani's questions. Councillor Liu, do you have an amendment?
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you. I'm taking the time to listen all the talks previously, and I'm now, it's my time to make the amendment. If we look at the screen, I sent the email with the amendment to the staff. Before I'm going to read it out, I wanted to formally state that I understand the concerns about Beverly Hills Town Centre, and I absolutely support the needs of proper planning, revitalization, and long-term confidence for local business and residents. However, supporting the progress, supporting the future of Beverly Hills does not automatically mean supporting this particular motion in its current form. I believe there has been some conflation of issues in the way this matter is being presented, as though voting against the motion or making any reasonable amendments automatically means opposing the revitalization of Beverly Hills, which is simply not accurate. I'm only one out of 15 councillors. Even, one of the councillors may vote against or make any amendment to the current motion because the wording, assumptions, or proposed process do not properly reflect the facts, not because they oppose the broader objectives. That's what I'm doing. So in this case, I would encourage everyone, not only councillors and the public, members, would read the director's comments. It's important that any council decisions accurately reflect the current planning position, the work already underway, and the proper roles of council and state government. So now I'm going to move my amendment. It includes A, B, C, D, E, F. If anyone can look at it carefully or need me to read it out, I'm happy to do it. That council, A, reaffirms council's commitment to council-led Beverly Hills Local Centre Master Plan to provide a coordinated, place-based framework for future land use, infrastructure, public domain.
Point of, Councillor Wang has called a point of order. If you could just turn your light off for a second.
Okay, so
What's the point of order, Councillor Wang?
the point of order is, so I just want to draw the attention to clause 10.11 of our code of meeting practice. The proposed amendment is out of order because it's directly negative to my original motion. Yeah, so clause 10.11 explicitly states that the amendment must not be a direct negative of the original motion and must be ruled out of the order by the chairperson. The core operative intention of my original motion is to transfer the planning authority to the state government and to immediately cease all council's expenditure on the Beverly Hills Master Plan. The proposed amendment attempt to reverse this action entirely, seek to retain the local council and continue spend the ratepayers fund. It's not altering the motion. It seek to completely negate. So that's illegal amendment. You can have your own motion. You can vote no to my motion. You cannot twist my motion to the opposite of what my intention. That's the meeting code of practice.
I'm aware of meeting code of practice, and I did consider that when Councillor Liu moved this amendment. If it was a direct negative, I don't believe it is a direct negative. So I'm happy for the amendment to remain as is. I believe that he's taking a position of council. It is not a direct negative. It's telling council to take this path.
You don't believe it's a negative of my
No.
motion? So I wanted the master plan to go to state to remove from the council, but she wants the council to retain the.
Your action was for it to be referred to the state government.
Not refer, just to hand over.
Yes, and
Yes.
so if the motion said that council does not hand it over to the state government, that would be a direct negative.
That's
This is
right.
instead directing a different path, which is for council to retain the
Yeah,
for council to remain committed to a council-led Beverly Hills Local Centre Master Plan. I don't believe it's a direct negative, so I'm going to rule the point of order out of order, and I'll go back to Councillor Liu to continue reading out her amendment.
Okay, so if that's the case, I will call for a dissent.
Motion of dissent? Sure.
Yeah.
So Councillor Wang has ruled a motion of dissent on my ruling that the point of order is not upheld. So that needs to be put to a vote.
Yeah, I will speak to the.
You don't need to speak to it. A motion of dissent means you disagree with my ruling on the point of order. So now we will vote on that. I don't believe that.
So this according to the meeting practice, so I have the right to speak for this dissent. It's like an amendment or a motion. Can I get?
I'll seek advice from the office of the.
So if I have a dissent, so can I speak for that one?
If Ms. Beckley could provide advice on that, please.
Yes, so councillor can without notice.
Sorry, just yeah, the microphone didn't go on for some reason.
Councillor can without notice.
No, it's still not working, your microphone. I don't know why. It's died, I think. Only me.
Okay, 15.7 of the Code of Meeting Practice, motions of dissent. The councillor can, without notice, move to dissent from a ruling of the chairperson on a point of order or a question of order. If that happens, the chairperson must suspend the business before the meeting until a decision is made on the motion of dissent. So
I need to put it to a vote.
yes,
And the question is, does the person moving the motion of dissent have the right to speak on it before I put it to a vote.
So despite any other provision of this code, only the mover of a motion of dissent and the chairperson can speak to the motion before it is put.
The motion of dissent.
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Wang, you may speak to the motion of dissent.
Thank you. So this motion of dissent is about this motion of dissent is about upholding the integrity of our code of meeting practice. Clause 10.7 is ambiguous. Amendment that is a direct negative of the original motion must be ruled out of order. The mayor's ruling to accept this amendment sets a dangerous precedent. My motion asks the council to handle the Beverly Hills Master Plan to the state government. The amendment seeks to do exactly opposite. If we allow direct negative to be disguised as amendments, we strip the original movers of their democratic rights to have their specific proposal debated and voted upon on its own merits. If the majority of the chamber wish to keep this master plan under council control, they have the rights to simply vote down my motion. But manipulating the rules to override my motion with a contradictory one violates the code of meeting practice we swore to uphold. I urge councillors to support this motion of dissent, enforce clause 10.11, and require a clean vote on the original notice of motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wang. So as the chair, I will also speak to the motion of dissent. I believe that my ruling of the point of order being out of order is correct, because this is not a direct negative. It is not saying the council does not proceed with referring the Beverly Hills Master Plan to the state government. It is instead providing alternate recommendation, and I do not believe that's a direct negative. So on that basis, I will put the motion of dissent to a vote, and if we could please go around the room.
Your vote, please, Madam Mayor.
I'm against.
Councillor Allison.
Against.
Councillor Anzalotti.
For.
Councillor Demoski.
Against.
Councillor Gow.
For.
Councillor Hayes.
For.
Councillor Jamison.
Against.
Councillor Lansbury.
Against.
Councillor Liu.
Against.
Councillor Marnie.
Against.
Councillor Maud.
Against.
Deputy Mayor Stratokopoulos.
Against.
Councillor Wang.
For.
9 votes against and 4 votes for.
So I declare the motion of dissent lost, and the point of order is not upheld, and we go back to Councillor Lute, who is in the process of moving her amendment. I might just call for a seconder on that amendment, if I could, please. I haven't got a seconder as yet. Councillor Marnie has seconded that, and Councillor Lute, if you could please continue to read out your amendment.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I'm going to speak item B, right? Just interrupted. Good, I have a good memory. The second, the point B, request that councillors be provided with a regular project update outlining key milestones, remaining work program items, and anticipated exhibition and reporting timeframes for the community for the Beverly Hills Master Plan. C. Note that while some sites in Beverly Hills have been subject to state-led planning pathways, the State's Significant Development, which means SSD, application for 447 to 453 King George's Road was revoked by the Minister for Planning and Public Spaces for not progressing within the requirement timeframes, and the State assessed rezoning proposal SARP declaration for 407 to 511 King George's Road has not materially progressed since its declaration. D. Notes that there is currently no established state-led precinct framework, especially applying to Beverly Hills, and that Beverly Hills differs in contents and functions from major metropolitan precinct, such as the Sydney Olympic Park, that would typically warrant consideration as a state significant precinct, which is SSP. E, notes that development of planning, housing, and the infrastructure has a statutory role in assessing matters, including hazard risk associated within the Mamba to Sydney pipeline and the implementation of state housing policies, and further notes that under the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979 and the relevant state planning guidelines, Council is required to consider and respond to hazard risk as part of its strategic planning functions. Council is progressing planning proposal PP 2026/0002 in condenses with these requirements. F, acknowledges that Beverly Hills Master Plan has experienced delay due to flood-related technical requirements from state agencies and the requirement to complete a revised Mamba to Sydney pipeline hazard analysis report following the state government's approval for the pipeline to transfer from ethane to natural gas, which has required additional hazard assessment work and contributed to delays in reporting the draft master plan. Council notes that the draft master plan is expected to be reported in Council in the coming months for endorsement for public discussion. That's all for my amendment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Liu. I will go to Councillor Wang and ask if he accepts the amendment. Councillor Liu, if you could please turn off the microphone.
No.
Don't accept that? Okay. Councillor Marnie, as the seconder, do you wish to speak to the amendment?
Nothing, Madam Mayor.
Okay, anyone wishing to speak against the amendment? Councillor Wang.
Yes. Thank you, man. So this amendment is like deja vu. It's the same thing. It's a repeat of what I've been doing for the past 10 years. And it has some information may not be even be accurate. So when you say this SAAP is not materially progressing, that's simply not true. And the other thing is about the pipeline.
I'm just going to put that as a question to the director, because what you're saying is in complete contradiction to the director's comments on the report. So if I could put that question to the director, the report states that the state assessed rezoning proposal at 407 to 511 King George's Road has not progressed since declaration as a SARP on the 14th of May 2025. Councillor Wang is stating that that is not true. If you could please provide clarification. Oh, you've gone out of battery. You've run out of battery.
Sorry, thank you. Madam Mayor, yes, what I've written is correct. It hasn't materially progressed in our view. However, if Councillor Wang has more information that contradicts that, I'd be happy to follow up the sources and see where it's at.
Thank you. Councillor Wang, please continue.
Yeah. So the other point is about the pipeline. So there's really no need for the council to conduct its own risk assessment. The state government has approved the assessment by the operator with negligible risk. So that's the second fact that I need to point out. And just overall, this really there's nothing to change. So what we are going to have is the same old. So we're going to have a coming months. We have been talking about the coming months since the last year. First, that's the delay, and even it's put on the public. Let's just repeat the cycle. We've been delayed for the public exhibition, and once in public exhibition, so there will be community backslash. It's already happening, and they will put it to state approval and with a seriously constrained housing target and exaggerated rates. The prospect of this master plan in its current form or just the trend, the perspective of getting approved by the state is, I would say it's down. So then you come back to square one. We go in this cycle for the past 10 years. And I think the Beverly Hills community deserves better. So if we don't, it's the same old. So I think we have lost in a way the social license, to carry on with this master plan. Thank you very much.
Councillor Wang, I just want to address a couple of the comments that you said there. You have concern about putting this out on community consultation because there will be community backlash and that nothing will then progress. I think that's what you just stated in your commentary. Which I think, first of all, you should be cautious. I think we should be cautious about anticipating the results of any community consultation process. That's the purpose of doing community consultation, is to find out what the community thinks. We don't anticipate what the outcome is going to be. Secondly, if there is this very strong response from the Revive Beverly Hills United group that they're presenting, then there should be really positive community consultation in relation to the Beverly Hills Master Plan when it does get publicly exhibited. So I don't think we should be anticipating what the public exhibition or consultation process will tell us. We should let that play out and see what the voice of the community tells us. Secondly, I think that the motion is basically calling for increased density by wanting the state government to take over or to pursue the state government pathways that exist under state significant development, HDA, the SARP. But what you get then is increased density. You don't get the infrastructure that goes with it to support the increased density. So the placemaking and the master planning is the best way to plan for the increased density, which is what our master plan does. I understand that, we are very close in this very long process of being able to come back, as the director has said, in the next few months with a master plan that can be publicly exhibited. That, I believe, the members of the gallery would be happy with, because the risk associated with the pipeline is now negligible. So they will, I would assume, have increased densities in the places where they have land holdings that they should be happy with. So I think that this is very close to the end, and if you throw it all out, you're going to go to the state government and start from scratch again. So I would think that it's very much in the community's interest, the landholders of Beverly Hills' interest, for this to continue in the pathway it is, and for us to proceed with public exhibition in the next few months. We've had speakers for the amendment and against. Councillor Anzalotti, do you wish to speak against the amendment?
No, but can I just ask a question? You just sort of mentioned that Councillor Weng shouldn't be predicting what community consult would be saying, but yet you just said that if we were to go to state government, that the state government would be just planning and not considering any infrastructure that goes with that planning. So I think you
my comments was in relation to the current state pathway approvals that exist under the approval pathways that exist under the current state government housing reforms, like an SSD and an HDA. They are about providing increased density. They're about providing housing. And that's what Councillor Wang's part of his argument is that there are already these pathways that exist under the state government. So we have these, we don't need a master plan because we can get the increased development through the existing state government pathways. My concern with that is you get the density, but you don't get the planned infrastructure to go with it, because those pathways don't have the planning around the infrastructure to go with it. They're standalone, isolated pathway approvals.
Well, there is infrastructure at Beverly Hills. There's a major road and there's a train station. And I think really the crux of the issue is that the residents are tired of being on this hamster wheel of year in and year out saying, we're going to get this master plan out. The master plan's going to come out. Meanwhile, businesses are suffering. People's properties are devaluing. It's a ghost town. There's more life in at Glebe Morgue than what there is at Beverly Hills. And I think we need to actually set a clear timeline instead of coming up with sort of changing the goalpost because everything's shifting with the pipeline, the risk is actually reduced because of the change in that pipeline. I think we need to give community faith that we are working with them to get a master plan out to them as soon as possible rather than down the track.
That's exactly what I just said, is based on the change of use of the pipeline, which council played no role in. That was a state government approval. We played no role in the approval, and we played no role in the timing of that approval. So that was out of our hands. Our obligation is to assess the new risk once that is done. We've done that. That's done. We're now revising the master plan based on the outcome of that risk. It should be a positive outcome for the revitalisation of Beverly Hills. We just have to be a little bit patient and wait for it to come from the consultants.
Yeah, I mean, 6 years is, you know, a long time.
Yeah, it's not 6 years. Sorry, Councillor Anzalotti. It's not 6 years because the pipeline only had its change of use recently. So there would have been a master plan out on exhibition if it was not for that. I'm going to call for a vote on the amendment as put by Councillor Liu and seconded by Councillor Marnie. If you could please take the votes, Ms McKinley.
Madam Mayor,
I'm for.
Councillor Allison.
For.
Councillor Anzalotti.
Against.
Councillor Demoski.
For.
Councillor Gow.
Against.
Councillor Hayes.
Against.
Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
Councillor Liu.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Mort.
For.
Deputy Mayor Stratokopoulos.
For.
Councillor Wang.
Against.
It's 9 votes for and 4 against.
I declare the amendment carried. The amendment now becomes the motion. If there's no further discussion, I will put the motion, and if we could please go around and take the vote again.
Madam Mayor.
For.
Councillor Allison.
For.
Councillor Anzalotti.
Against.
Councillor Demoski.
For.
Councillor Gow.
Against.
Councillor Hayes.
Against.
Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
Councillor Liu.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Mort.
For.
Deputy Mayor Stratokopoulos.
For.
Councillor Wang.
Against.
It's 9 votes for, 4 against.
I declare the motion carried. We move to NM 03026, poisoning of trees at Boundary Reserve Peakhurst. Councillor Marnie. And it's seconded by Councillor Allison.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This park is one of council's lesser known ones, located on busy Boundary Road, just east of Forest Road, and it's opposite the industrial zone. It lacks easy parking during the week. However, it's well stocked with trees, and the extensive lawns are meticulously maintained by council staff and is available for community and nearby workers to enjoy and relax in. Considering its surroundings, it's quite an oasis. All trees improve air quality, reduce climate change impacts, encourage biodiversity, provide shade, and even enhance human health. So to discover that four mature specimens in a row had been poisoned came as quite a shock to me and my colleagues, both on council and in the community. I'll leave it to Councillor Allison to elaborate on how special these particular trees are. I sincerely thank council officers for their prompt and decisive action, and express my appreciation to the George Police for taking such an active interest. I was amazed that the state government wasted no time inflicting their unwanted and loathsome policies such as the LMR onto our community without genuine public consultation. I therefore expect that it will soon be increasing penalties for cowardly crimes like this with the same level of urgency. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Allison.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wholeheartedly support Councillor Marnie's motion and condemn the actions of tree killers at large. There is no coincidence that these tree species are present in this council-owned boundary reserve. They are original remnant native trees called Syncarpia glomulifera, most commonly known as turpentines. Like all the forest trees that extend north and south of Forest Road, They belong to the vegetation community that is Sydney Turpentine and Ironbark Forest, or STIF for short. A particular vegetation type that is a critically endangered ecological community, of which only 0.5% or 0.5% remains. It was represented in our LGA by the presence of these 3 remnant trees. These particular silent sentinels in Boundary Reserve have a large drill hole in each of their trunks where some mindless moron poured liquid death into their cambium layer. They subsequently lost all of their leaves, and after a century or so of providing oxygen, affording shade to cool our hot summers, and offering branches to shelter our remnant native birds and arboreal mammals, these trees are now bereft of purpose. Why would anyone want to do this to a tree? What makes them think that they can kill a remnant tree on public land? What do we do now? We support council condemning the action of these tree killers. We commend council investigating this travesty, and we are buoyed by the clever insistence of council to include St George Police Area Command in this regard. No one wants the boys and girls in blue turning up on your doorstep, asking interesting questions. We are thankful that council will be erecting signage to educate the immediate neighbours to the value of these trees, and more importantly, to the remaining other trees that are as yet undead. An extensive media campaign publicising this act of vandalism might not deter this from happening again, but it does state council's retaliatory measures for potentially higher penalties to perhaps deter some people from committing such a heinous act. It's now timely to place certain Indigenous trees, particularly those from critically endangered vegetation communities, into the significant tree register for their stronger protection. The irony that more than a quarter of the 257 current species of listed significant trees are actually classified as weeds, these being the phoenix palms that were at Beverly, an example where they were at Beverly Hills, and only 5 species of locally native trees having made the list feels a bit like cultural cringe. These stiff trees, in my opinion, seem to satisfy all 4 criteria for significance: the visual and aesthetic aspect, botanic and scientific aspect, ecological aspect, and historical, commemorative, cultural, social aspect. We need to revisit their inclusion in the significant tree register because we have lost so many of these magnificent trees over the years, and their status needs to be lifted to reflect that significance because we cannot afford to lose any more.
Thank you, Councillor Allison. Any councillors wishing to speak against this motion? If not, I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those against? I declare it carried. Next in the agenda is the questions with notice, questions with no notice, and councillor questions on agenda items. Answers to these are published in the business paper and supplementary agenda. Councillors, if you have any further questions, please submit them through the Councillor Hub and an answer will be provided in a future business paper. There being no other business on the agenda, I declare the meeting closed at 8:52 p.m. Thank you, council staff and members of the gallery for your attendance at tonight's council meeting.